Hi guys, this is Dhruv Bhutani here from PhoneArena.com, bringing you a quick hands-on of the brand new OnePlus 2. We must emphasize that this is a hands-on, it's not a review. This is just based on a brief amount of time that we've had with the phone. At first glance, this is a very beautiful looking device, a clear iterative update. It harkens back to the same design that was on the OnePlus One, but there are improvements all around and they're very clearly visible. Let's start off with the front of the display of the device then. This is a 5.5-inch Full HD panel. It's not super oversaturated like you see on some of the Super AMOLED displays out there. Very natural looking colors. Goes pretty bright, though we haven't been able to test this out in sunlit conditions out there. But so far so good. It appears to be quite decent and the colors are very natural. You've got a 5 megapixel front facing camera right here. You've got two capacitive buttons, and what's new on this device is that there's a capacitive fingerprint sensor right here at the bottom. So we've already configured this for you, and as you'll see, you can just press down on it and well, it'll take you right into the menu. So that's the fingerprint sensor. It works quite well. We tried it out a couple of times before shooting for the video, and it seems to be quite accurate. Not quite iPhone levels, but pretty close, and I think that's pretty good enough. That's quite good enough given the price point of this device. Let's move over to the side then. You'll see that the OnePlus 2 has left behind all the plastics that were used on the OnePlus One. There's magnesium alloy all around the device. It's beautiful, it looks really nice, and it feels very sturdy. On the right hand side, you'll spot the volume rocker. There's also the power button, nice and big. You can easily press this with a single hand. This device, despite having a 5.5-inch display, really seems to be designed for one-handed usage. You can certainly use it in one hand, not a problem at all. Over at the top, you'll spot the 3.5mm audio jack. In the magnesium alloy chassis of the phone, there's also a small antenna that's running through it for better connectivity. Over here at the bottom, you'll spot, very similar to the iPhone, they've got the speaker grills on both sides, and interestingly, you've also got USB Type-C. Now this is a standard that's gradually gaining a lot of adoption. It's reversible in nature, and while we're not really sure what's the kind of spec in place in the OnePlus 2, it can also support USB 3.0 speeds, but we're not really sure if the OnePlus 2 supports that. But this is a reversible connector, so that means there's no more fumbling around in the dark trying to figure out which way your USB cable will go. Just press it in and it will get connected. Now what's also nice is that OnePlus is bundling in a reversible cable that's reversible on the other end as well. That's on the USB Type A side. Now move over to the left of the phone and there's a brand new button. Now there's a 3-stage button which basically works to activate the Do Not Disturb mode that's built into Android itself. Earlier in the day, Carl Pei, he went on record to say that this was a feature that was chiefly developed based on response or more of feedback gained from users on Reddit and on the forums. And I could see the utility behind this. You can just pull this down and it'll switch to priority notifications only, which means that you'll only get notifications from your VIP contacts. Or you can pull this further down for all notifications, or all the way up for no notifications at all. This is maybe sometime like when you're going for a nap, or maybe you just don't want any disturbance at all while you're working. Let's move over to the back then. Now you'll see that the entire camera module has been shifted a bit further down. It's somewhat centered towards the body of the phone, and that's because there's quite a few enhancements here. Now on paper this is still a 13 megapixel camera, but there are improvements to the sensor. It's an OmniVision sensor with 1.3 micron size, which means it's going to gather more light, and well, hopefully it should do much better in low light photography, though that's something we haven't really been able to test out in these conditions. You've also got the True Tone flash, which is the dual color flash. This is a fairly common feature on most high-end devices these days, so there's nothing really extraordinary there. Interestingly, you've also got laser autofocus here. Now this is a system that's being used by LG quite a bit, and it works really well in low light conditions to get a focus lock on the subject. While we can't really say that this sensor is going to be that huge an improvement in low light photography, you'll certainly be able to get a focus lock with this. Additionally, once again, something new here is that this camera module supports optical image stabilization, which would somewhat explain the slightly thicker shell of the phone. It's slightly more bulky device, though you can't really make out that much of a difference. It's very subtly curved at the back, feels great in the hand. Let's talk about the internal specifications of this device then. Compared to the original OnePlus One, the OnePlus 2 has a Snapdragon 810 processor, which is an octa-core processor. Now this phone will come in two variants, one with 3GB of RAM and one with 4GB of DDR4 RAM. At launch, you're only going to get the 64GB version, and the 64GB version ships with 4GB of DDR4 RAM. Later this year, OnePlus 2 will introduce the 16GB version as well, which will have 3GB of DDR4 RAM. We don't really see that there's going to be much of a difference in terms of your regular multitasking, but given that this phone does not have microSD expansion, we suggest that you probably should go with the 64GB version, unless you know that you really aren't going to be using this device too much for multimedia applications. Now let's move to the back. Once again, the OnePlus 2 carries on the same style swap covers, but this time around they're much easier to remove. There's a tab here at the bottom. Just stick a fingernail into it and you can swap it out. This is also where you'll find the SIM card slot. Now, a brand new feature here once again is that this is a dual SIM device. It supports 2 nano SIM cards, and you can just pull out the tray, put in 2 SIM cards and slot it back in. A very nifty solution. OnePlus 2 will have support for quite a few style swap covers. We're going to show you some of them in a bit now. In addition to the original, which is the sandstone black, you've also got a nice brown colored style swap cover. There's another one which is in rosewood, I think that's what they're calling it. There's one more with bamboo finish and yet one more with Kevlar like finish. So overall you've got quite a few options on hand here to customize your device. I'm sure there'll be a fair market for third-party customizable style swap covers as well over time, and I think the selection is pretty decent for a launch as a first-party collection. Putting the style swap cover is very easy. Let's see how that goes. So you take that, put it back there, and just snap it into place. So there you go, you've got it all set up. Now internally the OnePlus 2 is running on Oxygen OS. Now this is a very stock-like take on Android by OnePlus. It sticks very close to stock Android 5.0, well, Android Lollipop as such. We don't really have the scope to do a full review of the operating system right now, but let's take a look at some of the basic functionality. As you'll see that this is based on Android 5.1.1 and this is Oxygen OS version 2.0. Also, let's take a look at the amount of storage on offer. So yeah, there you go. This is the 64GB variant. Total space available 54GB. Available right now is 52.88GB. There's also a couple of applications pre-installed on this right now. A couple of photographs, some audio, so that's eating away the storage. Obviously we cannot give you an estimate of battery life at the moment, but this does have a 3300 mAh battery pack, which is an improvement over the original, which had a 3100 mAh battery built into the device. This is not a user removable battery pack, so you'll have to stick with it. But overall there's some very nice improvements all around on the OnePlus 2. It is a very solid device. It's a very well built phone. You cannot say that this is a budget phone at all. Let's do a quick rundown of the specifications then. This is powered by a Snapdragon 810 processor, which is an octa-core processor. It has an Adreno 430 GPU. There's 4GB of DDR4 RAM on the 64GB variant and 3GB of DDR4 RAM on the 16GB variant, which will go on sale later this year. Beyond that, you've got a 5.5-inch Full HD display, nice and bright. We haven't really tested out the outdoor visibility yet, and this is quite a glossy front, so we'll have to wait for the full review for that. There's also the fingerprint sensor at the bottom. You've got capacitive buttons on both the sides, but you can replace them with on-screen buttons if that's what you prefer. And the phone is priced at just 24,999 rupees for the 64GB variant, which in my opinion is quite a steal. I don't think you can get a better spec device at the moment for that kind of a price, and the 16GB variant is estimated to be around 22,000 or so when it will hit India later this year. So at the moment, this certainly appears to be a really killer device, at least on paper, but I would suggest that you wait for a full review. This is just a hands-on. We've not had too much time with the device, so obviously you'll have to wait a little longer while we put it through its paces and see what the device is actually capable of, and also to see whether there are any major issues with the device, or if they're not. You'll know that shortly when we put out our full review. But for now, this was Dhruv Bhutani and Hitesh doing a quick hands-on of the OnePlus 2, the brand new OnePlus 2. If you have any questions about the device, please do let us know in the comment section. Thanks for watching.